company dedicated to enhancing leaders' ability to harness and optimize trust as a strategic business asset.
Let's talk a little bit about community engagement. That's another sphere of life, another domain that we could talk about. You have mentioned that you have been connected with Big Bros and Big Sisses for a long time. And so how has trust made a difference in your service with that particular nonprofit organization and the people in it?
Yeah, so it's been a long journey with Big Brothers Big Sisters. And it started in my early 20s when I became a mentor to Gabby. And I served in that capacity for, I don't know, it was probably close to a decade. Um, and I'm still in touch with her to this day. I mean, she's now grown in, I don't early 30s. So it's been a great relationship. But the real message on trust here is that the mentors, myself at the time, the ones that I'm working with today that are through the board of directors, they're put into a situation with individuals who have not had my experience growing up and have been with a lot of people that they shouldn't trust and have not behaved in the right way. So then garnering trust when somebody is gone through trauma, gone through and garnering trust with them when they don't trust humans in general is, I think, the most difficult task, and has to be one that is approached in a very methodical way, and one with a lot of love, and one with a lot of patience, and one in which it's not going to happen overnight, but to keep chipping away and to keep chipping away. And as a result of that, garnering that trust of that individual, now that's the real win. That's the real win. I mean, the work stuff we've talked about that's small potatoes compared to what it takes to build trust with a child that's gone through trauma.
Mm.
So that's a lot of the work that we do on the board too, is make sure that the staff, the volunteers, everybody knows and can train those that are getting into these mentor relationships, or really putting their heart out there to help another individual and dedicating their time, that they still are educated on this process of building trust, and they don't get discouraged by the process, because we want to keep them in the program. We want to keep them mentoring, and we want to keep them in it for the long haul, because that's what we know really shows results.
It's about expectations. So trust in the fuller definition of trust, it's about expectations being met. So positive expectations being met. And so that's in training, I think, in any sector, training your employees, your volunteers, your board, for what to expect. You're giving them a leg up. They have to choose. They have to choose to live within to trust you as you're training them, to expect what you say they should expect. And but then when they engage in that big difference between trusting and untrusting, distrusting, then in that relationship, then they'll understand, there's a big gap there. But then a win could be this big, right? In that direction, because it's about the long journey, about the long relationship.
Well, there's examples of many examples within the organization. Obviously, they're bountiful, but you really have to you can't be late. Yeah, there's things that you've got to just make sure you deliver upon, so that then the individual knows, okay, not everybody doesn't show up for me, or not everybody is going to be an hour late because I'm not important. It's like all these things as a mentor you have to deliver upon in order to build that relationships. And some of them are small things that we might overlook in other situations. but knowing what the child has gone through to the best of your ability, because a lot of it's protected, I think is helpful in knowing how to kind of tweak your behaviors in order to get the most out of the relationship.
Well, those last two examples really underscored for me and as a reminder of how important setting expectations is at the beginning. So whether it was with your school care team for Gabe, or it's in this environment of working with children who have trauma in their history, and building trust looks different, and really setting expectations in terms of what needs to be done. Just a reminder, and underscores the importance of that, and how many times we miss it. We sort of jump in, and this idea of trust is the difference. We might just trust or assume that everything is going to go perfectly, and that isn't necessarily the best way to use trust.
Mhm.
Trusting is taking time to slow down, as you said, and set expectations, get to know who's at the table and how we leverage. So
Absolutely.
thank you for sharing those. You've been so generous with your time. I do want to sort of wrap us up here. We have a couple of questions just to conclude. And the first one just is, what dividends do you see trust playing between your work, your family, and your community life? I mean, what's the payback to you?
Um, I don't have to stress out all the time. I mean, I'm not stressed about it, It's like, let it go. It's like, my favorite Mel Robbins, like the let them theory. I'm like, I'm going to trust that this is going to work itself out. And that at the end of the day, um, my goals, aspirations, and my happiness in life they're going to be achieved. Right. So that's what it gives me. It gives me like a peace of mind. I mean, I don't know. I obviously work with people in every capacity that we've mentioned today that don't necessarily extend trust. I need to adjust myself for those individuals. But I also kind of feel like, oh God, that would be like hard to live. Like they have to, everybody's got to earn your trust. I mean, geez, I think that's a lot of people. So it gives me joy. I mean, it keeps me happy, approaching life that way. And sure, the times that I get burned, like, or have been burned, does that feel great? No. And do I look back and think, Molly, if you would have just like, why did you do that? But in hindsight, I'm glad I did it, because that's the behavior that keeps me happy, and I think is who my authentic self is. So I get to be me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's joy in that.
Mhm.
It seems like you have a good sense of responsibility. For yourself, you have a good sense of what your responsibility is in your different relationships, and then you attempt to proactively show up. And then because you do that, then you can feel good about it and pretty much carefree because you did your part, even if
Yeah. I like to
something didn't turn
always
out
be
well.
able to. I think that's great. I think that's true. I think that it's also a little bit of a fairy tale that you can show up perfectly for every person all the time. I'm an imperfect human. I do know that. So I acknowledge that to people when, I've been imperfect. And, but I've got a lot of people in my stratosphere of who I work with, from family and to be able to show up, as your best self, or show up all the time the way you want to. It's a bit of a fairy tale. I always strive to do that. But there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
Well,
In
that's one
the
of the
tired
reasons.
hours, I don't know who I'm showing up as in the tired hours, but like, it's that's what my kids get, the tired one.
Yeah.
Not the one that just did yoga, they don't get the 7 a.m. Molly. They get the, 6:30 p.m. just got off an airplane Molly.
Right. Man. Yeah. So, what do you think? Last question. What's one takeaway that leaders can get from your trust journey? What is the one nugget?
I think that lead and get the heck out of the way is the, and it's been said time and time again. And I think that oftentimes too many humans strive for control over excellence. And so that is why they have a hard time just leading and getting out of the way.
Beautiful words. Thank you.
Hope it was profound.
It's simple and authentic.
Mhm.
So that is profound.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So what do we do with all this? What do we do with these nuggets? What do we do with these this information? What can we do? How can we, Amy, how can we apply this, right, in our lives and our leadership opportunities? We'll have to watch and rewatch this this podcast to glean those things. There's a lot that was said here that we and our audience can take away from this. That's excellent.
Well, that's
excellent
humbling to know, because I just, it's just me. But at the same time, I hope it aligns. There's some things that align with your research and
Mhm.
the work that you're doing. And I think it's commendable that, you both are, have put so much investment, time, energy, your career, quite frankly, into studying this, because it's allowed for folks like myself to even kind of really amp up my game even more and think about how to leverage some things that I'm strong at.
Yes, I think you provide an excellent case study in your different domains of life. And thank you for being so authentically open in sharing these experiences that you've had and your insights with us and with our audience. We appreciate that so much.
Yeah, and I want to just thank you, Molly. I think, you're an inspiration to many people. And it's because you are using your natural strengths in a way to get things accomplished, and accomplished in a very fun and productive way, not only at work, but at home and in your community as well. So I love that you were able to share all those examples and so quickly, come to mind with specifics in terms of how trust plays a role in each of those. And it was even more impressive to see, how you really almost didn't trust a system, but put things in place to allow you to trust that system and took control of that. So, as Anthony mentioned, there's so much here, so many nuggets, and so I know our audience will benefit. I benefited today, and we just appreciate your time and willingness to hop on with us to further along a topic that's important to many.